Hey, hope you had a great weekend. We've got a lot lined up for you today on CNN Student News, starting with a report on Tropical Cyclone Winston. It was the most powerful storm ever recorded in the southern hemisphere. It made landfall in the Pacific island country of Fiji on Saturday. Winston killed at least 10 people when it roared through. Trees are down, power is out. All of Fiji's schools are closed this week. A state of emergency will be in effect for a month. Now, the challenge is prioritizing cleanup efforts. Officials are most concerned about some of Fiji's smaller villages. They didn't have the infrastructure to withstand the storm's 184-mile-per-hour winds. Winston was the equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane. As for the difference between that and a cyclone, it's just geography.
A tropical cyclone is an area of low pressure that forms in the tropical regions of the world. Cyclones are actually very important, even though, of course, they can be deadly. They help essentially balance out the temperature across the globe. They are an equalizer, so they take the heat energy from the tropics and they translate that where we need it into the colder climates. The generic term for it is a tropical cyclone. That can refer to any cyclone that has a closed center of circulation anywhere in the world, like in the Atlantic. When they get strong enough to a certain wind speed, we call them hurricanes. But if you're in the Western Pacific, a hurricane is called a typhoon. There is no difference between a hurricane and a typhoon except in the name. They're both tropical cyclones.
Up next, a struggle of Mumbai. It's one of the most populated cities of the world's second most populated country, India. It's home to tens of millions and some massive landfills. The government says that things are improving around the slums of Devnar. The roads are better, parks and schools have been built. Many people who live there disagree, saying the government doesn't listen to the poor. Few would deny, though, that the garbage problem is immense.
Always busy, always bustling. Mumbai is a city on the move. Home to factories, industry, 21 million people, and a lot of rubbish. It generates 10,000 metric tons of waste a day. Problem is, there's no real way to get rid of it. Much of it ends up here, at the Devnar dumping ground on the edge of the city.
There's so much garbage over here. It smells really bad, and to be honest, it's quite hard to breathe. And if you look at this hill behind me, this isn't actually a hill. It's 90 years of accumulated garbage.
From ground level, it's as high as a 10-story building.
This was a wetland swamp. There were beautiful mangroves and...
This area was once green?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now activists say it's a national embarrassment and a hazard. Part of the dump recently caught fire, a fire so big with so much smoke it was visible from space. We asked the head of the local city council what her plans for the dumping ground are. She said they've ramped up a citywide cleanliness campaign and started diverting some of the waste to another area. But the ultimate goal?
To scientifically cover the dump.
She admits that could take a while. As India continues to project itself as a growing superpower, dumps like these are eyesores that critics say contradict its ambitious message.
This is a zebra. There are hundreds of thousands of them in the world, but one particular type, called the gravy zebra, has seen a dramatic population drop in recent decades. They're hunted by lions, leopards, cheetahs, and hyenas. But the main reason they're disappearing may be humans. We're going on safari to their stomping ground in Kenya to explore why.
We're on a very different sort of hunt. The animals we're stalking are beautiful, but shy and skittish. The Grevy's zebra population is less than a fifth of what it was 30 years ago. Today, an estimated 2,000 are left in Kenya, but no one knows for sure.
Grevy's.
Often hunted for their skins, the only shots this group will take are the photo kind, and for an important cause.
I got him. Go that way.
The aim for these Grevy's hunters is to get a good still photograph of the animal's right flank.
We're going to use this picture to do an analysis of the stripe patterns. They're naturally barcoded, just like you get in the grocery store, and everyone is unique. And so we will be able to, with our hotspotter software, identify where the stripes touch each other.
The software analyzes and compares the zebra's natural barcode. It records other data too, such as where and when the picture was taken. All in all, around 100,000 pictures.
It's going to be amazing. This is magic. It's historic.
It will take a couple of weeks for scientists in the US to review the data found in the Grevy's count. Then the hope is that Kenya and the world will know how many of these majestic beasts remain, and just how worried we should be about their disappearance.
In the U.S., the next presidential nominating contest for Republicans is Tuesday in Nevada. The next one for Democrats is Saturday in South Carolina. Over the weekend, those same two states held votes for the opposite parties. In the Nevada Democratic caucuses, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton won with just over 52% of the vote. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders came in a close second with just over 47%. In the South Carolina Republican primaries, businessman Donald Trump won with more than 32% of the vote. Florida Senator Marco Rubio was second with 22.5%, and Texas Senator Ted Cruz was just behind him with 22.3%. After placing fourth, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush suspended his campaign. He'd struggled for months to make progress in the polls. So now there are 5 candidates seeking the Republican nomination. There are 2 candidates seeking the Democratic one. And coincidentally, Nevada and South Carolina just happen to be the homes of today's schools on the roll call. Rancho High School is in the battle-born state. The Rams are with us. They're watching from Las Vegas. Newberry is a city in the Palmetto State. From there, we've got the Tigers of Newberry Middle School. And from Central America, we welcome our viewers at Academia Británica Cuscatleca. Great to see you in La Libertad, El Salvador. With the help of CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta, we've been looking inside the human brain lately, from how it's involved in multitasking to how it's stimulated by music. And whether you are soft or hard-headed or soft or hard-hearted, it's possible you'll fall in love at some point. What does science tell us about the head-heart connection?
We call it falling in love, as if we have no control over how we topple. But that rush of emotion we connect to our heart actually begins here, in our brain. It starts with a crush, a first attraction which triggers a dopamine pathway deep in the middle of the brain. Dopamine is known as that feel-good neurotransmitter, but it also tells us to pay attention and to expect rewards. And that primes us for the next step, infatuation, because the brain is also telling your adrenal gland to release chemicals like adrenaline and norepinephrine. It's no wonder that we often start to tremble, lose our appetite, or get sweaty palms just thinking about our sweetheart. By now, the brain's reward system is fully activated, flooding your gray matter with more and more dopamine, feeding your high. You ever wonder why the object of your affection seems to do no wrong, at least at first? Well, it's because the brain on love deactivates the amygdala, which controls fear, deactivates the mid-temporal cortex, which manages negative emotions. It even deactivates your frontal lobe, which is used in judgment, right here. Which moves us along to the next level of our brain on love, attachment. The brain seals the deal by releasing oxytocin, often called the love hormone. It's a neuropeptide produced here in the hypothalamus and is secreted by the pituitary gland during times of intimacy like hugging and kissing. Studies show oxytocin strengthens social bonds in mammals, and intimate activities that trigger its release helps couples create strong bonds.
A typical giant panda has 3 speeds: eat, sleep, and rest. Guess that's more like 2.5. But this panda has one more: romp in the snow. When Da Mao woke up to find his home at the Toronto Zoo frosted over, he did what any 7-year-old would do. He went out to play. Didn't even make it all the way back up the hill again before he turned and rolled and took another tumble. It's great footage of a sprightly mammal. You could say we were all bamboozled by it, a bear frolicking with reckless abandon. It's an animal that's black and white and happy all over, and a scene of sheer pandasnomium. I'm Carl Azus, and we've spanned a breadth of news. Come on back Tuesday.